Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom, the 21K British Senior School podcast. I'm here today for a very special episode in regards to the previous MUN conference we held. We're joined today with the chair, the co-chair, the IP, and the faculty advisor for the conference, so let them introduce themselves.
Hello, listeners. I'm Ansh. I am from British AS level. I chaired MUN alongside Aditya, who was my co-chair.
Hi everyone, my name is Aditya. I am from 10th grade British IGCSE. I was the co-chair for the British Senior MUN, and an interesting fact about me is that I am a football enthusiast.
Hi everyone, I'm Inam. I study in Cambridge 10th grade IGCSE and I was part of international press for the MUN. And one fact about me is that I'm a Formula One enthusiast.
I'm Uma Venkatraman. I'm the faculty advisor for the Model United Nations with 21K schools. I thoroughly enjoyed working with you all. Thank you. And today I'm here to share my thoughts with you as well.
Thank you, ma'am. It truly is a pleasure to have you here with us, and it was a pleasure to have you working with us in the conference.
Thank you.
I'll be your host, Amara Visram, as the Student Council President. And for context, I was the Russian Federation in the MUN conference because I have a feeling that's going to come up quite a bit. But since we're on the topic of the MUN conference, I would like to ask everyone here what their experience of the conference was. Because they all played such vastly different roles, I'm sure that you all had vastly different experiences to match. So, what was that like? What was the conference like to each one of you personally, starting with you, Ansh?
Well, my first time experience as a chair was truly memorable. Initially, there were a few ups and downs, like the participation of delegates and attendance. However, when all was said and done, the conference turned out to be a resounding success. Aditya, what about you?
I think I speak for everyone when I say that I agree with that. And I'm sure as your co-chair, Aditya himself must have had a pretty similar experience. Is that right?
Yes, it was my very first MUN as well. The only previous MUN experience I really have was viewing the last year's MUN as a spectator, and directly going to a position of co-chair was a very nerve-wracking thing. But I'm glad the way that it was presented, and it went out very well.
Again, I have to wholeheartedly agree when I say that the conference was a resounding success. And I think a person who played a massive role in that was you, Miss Uma, because you were there in every single practice session, coaching everyone and trying your very best to get this to be successful. So, what was the conference like for you, ma'am?
Thank you for this, Amara. And I would very clearly state here that I've been a faculty advisor for the past 13 to 14 years. Is with this vast experience, definitely I enjoyed this online month, which was for the first time I'm doing an online month. But I was a little hesitant about the participation part, concerned about the participation and the interaction among the delegates in the online month. But it was really nice to see how well the conference was conducted by 21K schools. Excellent teamwork, excellent coordination, and excellent show put up by the children of the school. Wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am. From someone with your experience, it really is an extreme honor to be able to say that you were so proud of our performance. And I can imagine with 12 years of experience, you must have some really interesting stories to tell about MUN. So do you think you could share a couple with us?
Definitely. I think I started the MUN journey in the year 2012. And, there was only one child whom I could impress or communicate properly. I thought it was going to be a big failure from my part. But later on, it was an astounding success. As I sailed through difficult terrains, as I walked through the rough waters, I finally could inspire my children to be a part of the Harvard Model United Nations. And then it was a journey. Now, when I look back and see, I just marvel at myself for the wonderful interaction I had with them. And as a faculty advisor, I would simply tell two words. There is nothing much in MUN as we all talk about. It is just a part of us. understanding the global arena is there, should be there in each and every one of us. Then only we as a human being can survive in this big world, right? That's what I always feel. What is there much? Just talk about what you know about your awareness about the other human beings in this globe, in this on this earth. That is what is MUN. And then when you start talking in small, simple terms, lo and behold, your MUN is ready. That's nothing to, but we think it has a big thing, a big preparation, that research, all those words that are added just like that. I don't think it's just your understanding of the very minute things in this world. And finally, you are the best man. That's what I believe in, and that's what I believe in and trust in you all, children. You are going to carry the flag bearers of future months. Please go ahead, enjoy yourself.
Once again, ma'am, it's such an honor to have that from a teacher of and a faculty advisor of your caliber. We truly are honored to have you with us here. And again, it's really, I wholeheartedly agree with what you said about this international experience and increasing our social awareness. And I think it's something that was definitely emulated by our IP Inam when he was completely aware of the global situation and put the biggest countries on the grill. So, Inam, what was your experience of the conference like?
Completely aware is not a term I'd use, but all right. So again, unlike Aditya, last year I actually participated in the MUN, and the MUN last year wasn't that big. It lasted 1 hour, and there were really no questions asked. So coming into this MUN as international press, where you're supposed to ask a lot of questions, I wasn't sure how we were going to do this. But then an hour or two into the actual session itself, I think I got the hang of it and asked a few countries questions in the press sessions. So overall, it went pretty well for me.
I had absolutely no idea you were really nervous in the first few hours. I don't think anyone could tell. Just ask the USA. I'm sure he's still scared of you. And as a delegate of the Russian Federation, can I just thank you for that, by the way? Your flowers are still in the mail. And speaking of the United States and all the grilling sessions, and all of the vigorous and active debates that were participated, particularly with the delegate of France, how is it like to chair them, or how is it like to look at that from from the point of view of a chair or from a faculty advisor? Because as a delegate, it was stressful for one because you were constantly coming under fire, but it was also really interesting to watch. Although I wouldn't know what it was like from the perspective of a chair, because you actually had to moderate that, didn't you?
I will be quite frank. I enjoyed the constant debate between Russia, France, and USA. They were always on each other's throats the whole time. And another fun fact is that they scored more points on right to replies than few other delegates did overall.
No way. Like just the right to replies and more
Just the
than
right to
some delegates.
replies.
That's insane. What about you, Aditya? I mean, I know that you were constantly active in the chats, just ferrying messages to and fro and trying to keep the debate alive. I can't imagine that was easy given like the scale of the entire conference.
Well, yes, a lot of people actually kept on spamming questions in the chat, so I had to send it to the requested delegate. It did take a bit of time. I might have messed up a bit here and there, but I got the hang of it halfway into it. And with Ansha's help, who told me how to do it exactly, I was easily able to do it. And for reference, the delegate of France did send the most questions out of every single delegate in the MUN conference. And because of that, he got a lot of points as well because he kept on asking a lot of questions to other delegates, which made it hard for them to reply. Not only did he speak, he wrote questions as well, which made his portfolio very good for the whole MUN session.
I mean, I am not in the least surprised that he asked the most questions. And I think I can speak for everyone when I say this isn't surprising at all. And I understand that this isn't your first time working with him or being together with him in an MUN conference. So, what can you give us a little insight on that?
Well, for me and Anam, who were actually there in the last MUN, I wasn't, but he was. The delegate of France, Adit Hake, was actually the delegate of, I believe, India, while Anam was the delegate of USA. And even during that MUN, he didn't have as much of a challenge as much as Russia was to him during this MUN. So he mostly took the reins for the previous MUN and kept on debating against other people, regardless of whether they were allies or enemies. And it was very entertaining that time as well. Even though the MUN session was very short for last year's, it was fun because of him. And this year it was even better because the delegate of Russia also fought against him, and it was very entertaining from a chess perspective to watch that.
Definitely. And can I just say it was a huge honor to, how do I put this without sounding arrogant? Dethrone? Yes, dethrone the delegate of France as the ruling delegate of this conference. Although, from what I understand, it was a very close match. Can the chair give any insights to this?
All right. So you're not supposed to know this, Amara. I told you this in fourth, but the point
Well,
difference between Russia and France was 3 points. Russia was 103 and France was 100 or 99.5.
so maybe I shouldn't be so arrogant in saying I dethroned him, considering it could have easily gone his way.
Well, the funny thing is, it was going his way until the amendment came into ruling, and that is when you actually got, I believe, a right to reply. I think that's how it went down, and because of that, you gained more points than him in the end, and actually beat him in the overall score of the end. Yeah.
Well, that's a very lucky amendment then. And I noticed that, Aditya, you mentioned Inam being the delegate of India in the previous conference, the delegate
The
of the
USA.
USA.
USA,
The
yeah.
USA, yes, sorry, the USA in the previous conference, and Adit being India. So how did that go down?
Well, I wasn't really a part of the MUN, so I believe Inam has like a better scope of explanations.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
So
Lamba.
last MUN, really only it was me, Adit, and the delegate of China who were really participating. And all of us, because back in that MUN, we didn't really have a co-chair. And the chair was Syed, so we couldn't ask him questions like through chat to relay to other delegates. So we would question among ourselves through private chats. So we didn't even get points for it. I don't know why we did that, but we did not get points for it. And in the end, some other delegate won best delegate. So this year's MUN was way better organized than last year's as well. So that was something. And Adit, obviously, like, he was the only one who really questioned press, even when I was grilling other countries. So I didn't really want to question him. That's why I didn't really question him during the
You're
press
not
sessions.
serious. He was questioning the press, so his attacks weren't just limited to me. That I guess I shouldn't feel so special.
No, while I was
Any
grilling the USA, I had 6 questions come my way from Adit. 6.
in question, like in relation to you or in relation to the US, what was that like?
I don't even know if he was supporting the US. He was attacking every other country while questioning me, so I don't know what he meant.
Well,
I remember this. So France sent me a message saying the press's information is invalid.
So he was
That
attacking the international press
he
as
was
well.
yes.
Why did he
No.
not tell me my information was invalid? Because I got them from the right sources. So,
I
that would have
haven't.
been interesting, actually, if he had asked me this.
Okay.
You could have
Well,
actually
this is
countered him.
interesting. Ma'am, what do you think about all this, especially the delegate of France and the debate that went on and the attacks that he gave other delegations?
See, I feel that as a history teacher, the Cold War continues. It's always Russia and USA in the picture. Yes, and whenever any other P5 countries come by, yes, the press always attacks them. That is, and the delegate of France was simply marvelous. So that's what I was telling. He was not giving us big statements, right? He was just talking in, the basic things, very basic. He understood which area to be questioned, where to attack the other countries. So he knew where he stood, where his country stood. That's what I told. How now everybody is talking about the delegate of France. Yes, he didn't do anything. I mean, what I felt was very beautifully, very intricately. He created questions which created a lasting impact on all of us, right? So this is what I felt. I wanted more, as Amara very clearly said. There were some, there states or countries who had proved, their lesser known countries. But now, if everybody could chip in the way the delegate of France did, it would have been a wonderful session. I mean, what we require in all model United Nations at the end of the conference is, we want solid resolution, solid thinking by children. It's by children. Again, I'm talking about, it's not by the elders or whoever who's what you call teachers or any others. It is from little children, like young children like you. We want resolutions. And when children come up with such wonderful ideas, definitely it's going to create a new wonderful word for all of us, right? So that's why we are all today talking about the delegate of France. And of course, definitely, he did his part wonderfully well. And the press also, they were here. Here is where I could understand the essence of children talking about global affairs, what is happening around us. These are the little things that we all understand, right? There was nothing great. And I'm 100% sure you would not have burned the midnight oil to get these points. It is very natural within you, the flair in you that has come up, and you have just started questioning. So this is really good, really good. And currently the conversation is going in a very wonderful way. Yes, very healthy manner.
Definitely, ma'am. It's all about this excursion into internationalism and making sure that kids have a grasp on the situations around them. And the delegate of France, again, yeah, we're talking about him because his grasp on international affairs was so sound that it practically ran the conference. And I think that is the essence of MUN, is to get delegates, is to get school children to participate, to be able to gain a different understanding and perspective on the world around them, as you so very aptly put it. And like you mentioned, a lot of the lesser known countries like Kiribati or Kenya or Somalia were really taking center stage. And I would really like to see how, the IP or the chair feels about this, because we were not expecting anything from nations other than the US, Germany, Russia, France. These were the main players in the practice sessions, but when it came to the actual conference, there were so many other people speaking.
Well, personally, the reason why I think that was because they didn't want to since they're smaller countries, they wouldn't really want to use their main points during the practice sessions. So I believe they accumulated all of those. And then during the main conference session, they decided to just completely compile all their points and just go all out like the other countries did. But they had more points since they're larger base countries and they have more resources to go off of. So I really like what the smaller countries did during the conference day as well.
I'd also like to mention that, speaking of smaller countries, in the position papers, like the way they were graded, obviously we'd be inclined to think that either Russia or the delegate of France had the best position papers. But funnily enough, it was Jamaica that had the best position paper, if I was not wrong, with a complete full score. So that was something. They didn't step up during the MUN, I don't think, but the position paper, Jamaica had the highest.
I was looking forward to Jamaica in the conference and he did not show up. The only reason France and Russia did not get full marks in the position paper was because their position paper was too long. And I wasn't going to sit there reading 5 pages from each delegate.
In my defense, it was 4.5, okay? 4.5, big distinction there.
Yes, well, your information was on point, but it was too long. A position paper is generally supposed to be 1 to 2 pages max.
Noted, Cher. Thank you for that. And also, you seem to be very, very strict on punctuation and just papers in general. I remember you having a meltdown over a full stop in the middle of a clause that we had submitted.
Yes. Okay, so previous MUN experiences, the punctuation was very strict. Once my whole paper got scrapped because there were 2 full stops. I remember, and I am very strict with punctuation since then. I go through every word.
So it's past trauma that led to this.
It's past trauma, completely.
Okay, so I think that we have really, really harped on about the delegate of France. But what I'd really like to know is during the conference, did you guys have any meetings to discuss the performance of these delegates? Because it seems that all of you were abreast with what kind of points that everyone was scoring, what their position papers were like. So did you have a separate group or did you go to breakout rooms to discuss this? And what were those like?
We did. So it is I keep inviting my coach and sometimes the IP too to, blow off some steam. Having it being in such a formal environment for so long really takes a toll on me at least because I am a very outgoing
I can
person.
imagine.
I can't keep a straight face for so long. So every now and then I go to a breakout room depending the break is going on, take Aditya and we just talk. We just randomly talk about how
Yep.
what do you say, how the conference is going, what the participants are doing and everything. And we also
And
spend the time grading everyone.
and Uma ma'am, were you ever invited to these?
I didn't get it, Amara.
So did you ever go to these breakout room meetings with the chair, co-chair, and
Uh,
IP, and did you discuss the progress of the delegates?
Not exactly, Amara. As a advisor, I just gave them the right direction. Just put them in the right direction. I just wanted them to come out with what they've understood about the country that they are representing, and it was a general instruction for everyone. I did not go to any breakout rooms to especially
All
find
right.
out the standings in the or rankings. That I didn't do. Yeah.
Okay, so you
Towards the,
weren't aware of the rankings either, or
And no, exactly. In the end, I think somebody else posted it in the group. So then only I came to know about the rankings. But I had my own calculations in my mind as who would, come up. The one thing that I noticed at that point of time was there were too many amendments. And final resolution and the amendments, there is a certain set of restricted set of numbers. Suppose we have 20 amendments or 20 clauses. Yes, you can delete one or two amendments from that. But we had a very less set of amendments, I think around 10 of them. And from there,
yeah,
we deleted around 2 to 3.
we deleted too,
That,
after which I
yes,
got a little mad and
yeah,
I posted in chat that the
I think
chair won't tolerate.
I sent a note to Ansh because in almost all the conferences where I have been a part of, I usually insist the resolution to be at least with 20 clauses. Yes, deletions and additions are welcome. It is a part of the protocol, but totally we don't delete clauses. We just amend clauses, majority of them. And that's how we come to a final solution of things. See, if you delete many of the clauses, then there is no meaning in giving a resolution. A
With the way
resolution
the
should
amendments
come.
were going,
Yeah,
I
without
thought
a
all
doubt.
most of the
I
clauses would
had
just get deleted.
I
exactly.
mean, it
It
was
cannot be
painful.
deleted like this. This is one concern I raised with Ansh also through
Yes.
the chat box. Yeah, did really feel that was not the right way of taking things. But of course, as I could understand from your conversation that we have come a long way off from the last year's one, definitely that will be the next thing that we'll be taking care of for the next months.
Without a doubt, I mean, it was painful. Our block spent so long trying to come up with these clauses, and then they were just getting deleted left, right, and center by the Western Bloc. It was that
It is very,
rivalry. It
very
was
difficult to come up with clauses, Amara. It's very difficult.
precisely.
Yes. So when you come up with clauses, there's no, just because one delegate raised it, generally we put to vote, right? And of course,
Yes.
putting to vote, Ansh had a tough time. I was watching that, I was observing that. No worries. Next year we will definitely make a makeover here.
Yes, so it was very difficult, I can imagine. And one thing that I noticed personally was that there was a very clear division of blocks. Did you expect this from the practice session? Did you expect the blocks to be formed, so decisively? And speaking of the practice sessions in general, a lot of you in your answers displayed a lot of concern over the actual conference because of the practice sessions. So, did the conference in any way meet, defy, or exceed these expectations? I mean, did you expect the conference to turn out the way it did?
Well, to be completely candid, following the practice sessions, I felt somewhat let down by the delegates' level of participation. However, on the day of the conference, they really shone, and the depth of the research was left me pleasantly surprised.
I can imagine. I was there in the practice sessions. There was barely anyone speaking up. There was, honestly, I was almost shell shocked by the level of how quiet everyone was. And it was such a stark difference to the conference with everyone clamoring to get their name on the speakers list. So, again, your co-chair must have had a very similar experience, was it not, Aditya?
Yep, it was a very similar experience. I did not expect the amount of participation we had on the conference day, because during the practice sessions, most of the nations wouldn't speak. Like most of the delegates didn't have that many points to say. But now we know that it was mainly because they were holding it for the mainly the conference stages to go all out. And like you said, for the groups, right? We were kind of concerned about this because we hadn't really planned this much that out in the practice session. But somehow it turned, the delegates by themselves did a very amazing job and split their groups accordingly to like a very precise level, like you said, and it went very well.
Okay, yeah, like you said, the delegates split themselves into two groups. Ma'am, as a history teacher and as my history teacher, I know you feel very strongly about the formation of blocks and, the Cold War. So could you say that this was actually reflective of the global atmosphere as it has been historically as well as in the present?
My expectations, Amara. Let me be very fair and frank over here. Delegates had prepared well. Only thing that could have changed was if it had been from all the 25 or 28 delegates that we had. Of course, not all 28 can participate in a very even tone. Definitely, three or four more of them would have changed the entire scenario. It would have changed the entire scenario. Just now we spoke about the blocks, right? The blocks of
Yes.
formation is one very important step in passing resolutions, and the final draft resolution is what matters. So when there is only a very limited group of children having a wonderful narration or good interaction amongst the others, then definitely it will hinder the formation of blocks. It is going to be like that only, because block formation is something that comes out of your ideologies matching with the ideology of the other country. So it's as simple as that. But what we talk about in a history class about capitalism or socialism does matter here also. So my ideology should match with the other nation's ideology. Then almost I'm very close to that nation, and I will identify myself with that nation, and therefore form a block. So there was some block, BLOCK here, in making the blocks, BLOCS. So, okay, that was a small part which I felt could have changed. But definitely a big change from whatever we did in the practice sessions. The participation was excellent, and I have full confidence that in the next year conference there will be more participation, and truly it is going to be a global event. I'm sure about that.
Definitely. I mean, like you said, the blocks were forming, and it was in line with a lot of the foreign policies that we see. It was almost like we were having an actual Cold War in the conference, except it wasn't so cold with all the people just deliberately calling different nations out. And I do understand what you're saying about the level of participation not really being up to the caliber that we were expecting it, that we were hoping it would be. However, I do feel like it was a lot of nervousness because it was the first time for a lot of children. And from what I understand, even if they weren't vocal necessarily about, their points or attacking other countries, a lot of them were very active in chat and asking questions. I mean, Inam, Aditya, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, so even though the delegates didn't voice their concerns or whatever doubts they had against other delegates, besides France and Russia, obviously, because they were mainly going at it being vocal, they were also present in chat as well. But the other countries like Germany, Kiribati, Kenya, etc., were also very active in the chat. So even though they don't voice all of their points out loud, they were very active in chat. So it was a very productive MUN at the end of the day due to total cooperation between all the delegates.
I'd also like to mention that because of nervousness, most of them are afraid to speak up. but they had the information they needed. So while I was in the middle of questioning Saudi Arabia, one of the countries, I don't remember which, I think it was Somalia, she gave me information to use against the delegate of Saudi Arabia because she was too shy to voice it out on her own. I didn't use it, but then she did give me some information.
All right, so you were getting help from other nations, basically. It wasn't just your performance.
No. My performance was my performance. I did not use their help. I'd like to
Very
reinforce that.
defensive there, aren't you?
Very.
Anyway, okay, moving on, since I seem to have touched a nerve there. We keep on talking about what the future is going to be like for MUN at 21K. And if it's just personal speculation, I'd really like to say that I have very high hopes for it because this conference was so much fun. And I can't imagine what it would be like once more children have experience, once more children are familiar with the layout and how MUN goes. So, what do you think MUN would be like in the future, 21K, Miss Uma, considering you're on the faculty advisor team and on the planning committee?
Yeah, very good question, Amara. Definitely, future holds a lot of promise, and I believe that we want more committees to be in for the future months. For where I would like to have a slice from Historic Security Council, I would have like to have from the General Assembly, maybe in the form of ECOSOC or SOCUM or I mean committees that can create a ripple in the world, where if we find a resolution for all these things or a wonderful solution, then it's going to go down deep into the annals of the United Nations. I'm sure about that. So I want to actually give more importance to the other committees. And I'm sure as our students gain experience and expertise in MUN with their research, debates, and drafting resolutions, we may invite other delegations to our school also, so that the level of our debating skills or oratorial skills will be could be reflected or could be highlighted. That is one of my suggestion. The second suggestion, just now you spoke about the fun element. Just to add to the fun element, I would love to have some cultural exchange program, and 21K school is the right place for that, because where many of the students come from various nations, the art and culture can be put together. And with the various geographical background that they come in, it may be a good idea to have a cultural exchange on the sidelines of the main conference. And I'm looking forward to plan and implement all these things in the future months of 21K.
I mean, that sounds really exciting, at least from the perspective of an international student. I think that it's going to be such an amazing thing, especially for cultural exchanges, because we're taking something that is essentially a mock excursion into internationalism and turning it into something practical that students can share with each other. Especially as, an international student, like I said, there are so many people of so many different ethnicities, nationalities, and backgrounds in 21K itself. So if we're able to share this with other students, we can imagine the immense cultural diversity that we will bring to our school. So that sounds really, really exciting. And not to mention the fact that you said future MUNs might be held against different schools. How would that look like from a logistic perspective? It sounds like an incredible experience if it does happen, but would it
Yes,
be difficult to arrange?
no, Amara, it won't be difficult to arrange. Let me tell you, there are many students who are concentrated in certain parts, within India. Now, leave those children like you who are residing outside India. With online conferences itself, we can do that. We need not, stick on to a physical conference, or we don't want a special conference for this. We will invite, during pandemic years, we did online conferencing, right? We did it in the Boston also, we did it in Dubai, we did it in all these places. So we had children, the delegates coming from across the globe in an online conference. It is not that tough to to what you call implement this or put it into practicality. Only thing we need to do is planning should start right from the month of Jan for us to hold a MUN conference in the month of July or August, whichever is suitable for us. Secondly, the conference should not be a one-day conference. It should be a 2.5-day conference as we have in a physical school. So if we can extend the duration of the conference, we can definitely accommodate children for an online conference, which I'm quite sure it will be possible. Apart from that, the other decision which the other planning that I had in my mind was children staying within India in cities like Mumbai, Calcutta, Bangalore, Delhi. All these children can be made into groups, and if they want to attend a physical one, that too can also happen, which I have already forwarded to some of the in the management. So let's see. But don't be disappointed. Across the globe, children can be accommodated in online conference, and I have the expertise to do that because I did it in Dubai in the year 2021.
Okay, so it doesn't sound as grand as I thought it would be, but it definitely will be a really fun experience, and I very much hope that it materializes. But
Yes,
looking at it
definitely.
from the executive committee's perspective, I mean the chair, the co-chair, the IP, what do you think your roles would be like in the future? Would you go for the exec committee again? And what do you think it would be like in the future?
I am not sure what the future holds for me. I would love to, take part as a delegate, but I also really like being chair. I like the authoritative feeling, which I was not sure about up until this MUN session. So I'm not sure what the future has for me, but I might or might not, be a delegate next time.
Well, for me, I'd say co-chair is probably the best role for me because it doesn't require as much role as the chair and is not as hard as a delegate. But I would like to try the delegate as I'm a decently good debater. I would have liked to actually debate against the delegate of France. Sadly, I got the role of co-chair because he seems like a very fun person to basically go on or have a debate with. I'm sure Amara, you could agree because as delegate of Russia, you had a lot of fun with him.
Fun is a question. Interesting, definitely, but
Interesting.
stressful to say the least.
Yeah, I would like to have that sort of debate with them.
All right, just word to the wise, get your blood pressure pills on hold. Anyway, what about you, Inam?
On the contrary, like when compared to Aditya, I would not like to debate against Adit. So next time even, if I can, I'll try getting one of the authoritative positions like like chair or co-chair. If I can't, I'll stick to international press because if Adit is in the next MUN and his development continues like it did from last year, I will not stand a chance in the debate. So I'd rather be IP. So that's it.
Again, you did a wonderful job as an IP, so I think not having you in that role would be a great loss for everyone. And on that note, I would just like to ask if Miss Uma, you have any concluding remarks. As a faculty advisor, we know you played such a large role. So what words could you say to encapsulate the essence of this year's conference?
Wonderful conference. And I'm just waiting for the day when resolutions from 21K school will be taken up by the United Nations. It's just a whisker away. I'm just waiting for the day.
That's a really uplifting note, ma'am. And again, it's an incredible honor to have you say that about our school. And on that note,
just really place all the trust on my children. Wonderful team. Ansh, Inam, Aditya, Amara, of course, everybody. You did your part wonderfully well. And if you're going to be part next year, if you're part of the MUN, I'm sure that we are going to get a place in the United Nations. Don't worry.
Again, ma'am, thank you so much. And on that note, because we don't want to talk your ears off, this has been the first episode of the Beyond the Classroom podcast. I'm your host, Amara Visram, and we're signing off Beyond the Classroom. Have a great day.